We have some new information about the upcoming PvP zone that's going to be included with New World Aeternum. That area, as we already know, is going to be called the Cursed Mist, and it's going to be located in the southwestern part of Cutlass Keys. There was a recent Q&A in the New World Discord, and there were some very specific questions asked about some of the aspects of the PvP zone and how some of the things there are going to work. So we're going to cover some of those questions here in this video. And also towards the end of the video, we do have some server times and some release times of when you can actually jump in and play New World Aeternum on October the 15th. Let's jump in here and let's take a look at some of these questions that were asked about the PvP zone. So the first question asked, is there any form of penalty for grouping up? And AG Mixer, I think that's how you say his name. I'm not sure that's what we're going to go with. He says the FFA zone prevents players from grouping. If you're grouped once entering the zone, you're going to be removed from the group with the relevant UI messaging. Players will only be able to heal themselves inside the zone and damage other players. There are mechanics in place to discourage too many players grouping in the same area by forcing them to disperse or risk losing their hard-earned loot. So that's good to know. I think there is going to be some grouping in this PvP zone. I don't know that there's going to be any way to stop that completely. There's some other questions that touch on that throughout this Q&A, so let's keep going here. So question number 2 said, are there any additional details on how players will be prevented from lingering too long? And Dave says, any huge clumps of players in close proximity, like an elite chest run group pouring into the zone, get lost in the mist. So for example, they can be booted from the zone for crowding together too long. So if there's any really large groups in this area, it looks like they're just going to be booted out of the zone completely. So hopefully that prevents a lot of zerging that could happen within the zone, which I think it'll be pretty hard to zerg anyway, because you're going to be doing damage to other players around you. And I believe you can only heal yourself whenever you're in there. So I think zerging is not really a problem. I think smaller groups would be more of an issue in this free-for-all zone, but let's keep going. We have the next question says, are there shrines within the zone? So Mixer says there are no shrines within the free-for-all zone. Instead, there are multiple shrines surrounding the border of the free-for-all zone. So whenever you die, you're going to be able to choose the nearest shrine to resurrect. So no resurrecting inside of the zone. You'll be booted out and then you'll have to run back in. The next one says, is there any form of penalty for grouping up? So Dave says no penalty, but it isn't easy. As Scott noted, all groups are broken up, so not even company or faction matter. So you can't heal one another, and it's very easy to accidentally, or in quotes, accidentally hit your allies. We all have that one friend, right? So it is going to be hard to group up in this zone, I think, or at least I hope so. You're not going to be able to heal each other. If you are around someone, cast an AoE or whatever, it's going to hit the person next to you. So it should be a true free-for-all zone. That's what we're all hoping for. I think it could be a lot of fun if implemented correctly, but let's keep going here. So the next question says, can you log out in the PvP zone? Thinking in regards to avoiding interactions. That could be a big problem. Like if you see a group or someone over there that you want to avoid altogether, you can go hide and log out and then get your stuff out of the area. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, because it says, yes, you can log out while you're in the PvP zone, but whenever you do that, it's going to teleport the player out of the zone to the nearest shrine and result in losing half of their acquired cursed materials, which is the same thing as if you die. If you die in that zone, you lose half of your materials as well. So if you log out in there, it's going to be the same exact thing. So that's good to know. You don't want to have a mechanic where people are just logging out to avoid the PvP in the area so they can get out safely with the stuff. That would kind of ruin the fun. The next question says, could there be a possibility of different instances or shards so it's harder to abuse grouping up? So Dave says nothing like that has been implemented yet. However, as with the current drop on death rate and other mechanics, many aspects of the Cursed Mist may evolve over time as players interact with the zone. So we have another question that says, what happens whenever you die in the zone? So they say that it was mentioned that you lose half of the currency you obtained, but are you able to respawn out of the free-for-all PvP zone and then keep 50% of what you earned before you died? And Dave says currently you drop 50% of your cursed doubloons and harvested resources on death or voluntary teleportation. And the same happens if you log out in the zone and then you log back in, you'll be outside of the zone as we just read before. Then he says you then appear outside the Cursed Mist with the remaining 50% uncursed and free to use. Thus at worst, you'll only ever lose half of your stuff, and depending on how you perished, you might be able to make it back in to recover it. So whenever you die, your stuff drops on the ground and anyone can take it. So if they don't get it or they die for whatever reason, you can have the opportunity to run back in and maybe get your stuff back. So then the next question says, can more than one person loot the same chest at a time? Mixer says, no, you must fight for the right to loot the chest. Only one player at a time may loot the chest, just like for gatherables. And on the beta, whenever you looted a chest, it disappeared for a short period of time. So it's going to be kind of a first come, first serve. You're going to have to fight over the chest to get those doubloons. Should be a lot of fun. Then we have several more questions here. This one says, I assume you can't teleport out of the free-for-all PvP zone, like to the inn or to your home. And the response is, if you pour it out, it's going to be treated just like a death. So you're going to leave behind half of your loot. Then the next question is, will the zone be server specific or will it be crossplay with other servers? And of course, this PvP zone is only specific to your server. And the next couple of areas talk about how your loot drops on the ground. So if you die in the area or if someone kills you, your loot's going to drop, as we talked about before, and someone else can pick that up, or you can go back and get it, but you cannot intentionally drop your loot on the ground if it's cursed items. So if there's cursed items in your inventory, like any cursed resources from the zone or cursed doubloons, you're not going to be able to just drop those on the ground or stash them away somewhere so you can come back and get them later, or give them to other people while you're in the zone. You can't drop them on the ground. The next question is regarding name tags within the PvP zone. So this person is saying you have to remove name tags in the free-for-all PvP zone, or toxicity, teaming, and harassment is going to be rampant. Then he asked, are you considering removing the name tags? They said, we have not completely disabled nameplates, although like much of the Curse Mist, it was a point of much debate within the team. As with any aspect of the Lawless Zone, we'll be watching gameplay closely and the mechanics will evolve as needed. So what do you guys think about removing name tags altogether within the free-for-all PvP zone? I personally think it's a pretty good idea. I think they should be removed because you're not going to want to see who you're fighting. That's the whole purpose of the free-for-all zone. If you see a name that you recognize, or someone that you know, someone in your company, someone in your guild, I mean, obviously a lot of people are still going to be in Discord whenever they're out here in this Cursed Mist zone, but a lot of times you're not. Maybe you're playing solo, whatever, or you happen to have a random encounter with one of your friends in there. You want to be able to still fight them like you don't know who they are. So I think removing the nameplates altogether in the PvP zone would be fantastic, and hopefully they'll lean into that. At least that's my vote anyway. So the next question says, will there be any leaderboards for the Cursed PvP zone? And currently that's not in the works. And then the last question I want to take a look at here, it says, based on the proposed design, teaming seems allowed, which I don't think is a bad thing. That's what they say in the question. That's not what I'm saying. That's what they're saying in the question. It says, have you considered implementing portals as a way to enter the PvP zone at random location? Maybe portals to extract or move to another area in the zone. That might be kind of cool. Then they say, have you considered making the PvP zone instanced and letting players queue or solo or duo? This would give you more control over teaming. And then what do you do about griefing? And then secondary objectives, like what makes this gameplay interesting is having all of the different objects in the zone. And if everyone is focused on looting chests, it's going to get stale. So that's their concern. Is there anything else to do in the zone other than just looting chests and getting these doubloons? So the response was, in addition to the chests and resources, there's also daily PvE and PvP quests within the Lawless Zone, as well as events, bosses, treasure maps, hunts, and so on. So they don't really answer the question about like considering portals within the zone. I think that might be pretty neat to have people entering in at a random location. Although there's a lot of different ways in the zone you can get in. It's a very large area down in the bottom of Cutlass Keys. So it's not like there's just one area where you can run in there. You can run in there from a lot of different spots, but I do foresee a lot of people like camping certain spots or popular spots for people running in and trying to take them out whenever they run in. I think all that's going to be part of it, but we're just going to have to see how all this works out. I think overall it could be a pretty fun and interesting place to go. I'm excited for it. I love PvP, and I think the free-for-all aspect is going to add something interesting to the game. I think it's going to be pretty fun. And the last thing I wanted to talk about in regards to this Q&A comes from Tranquility, the legend himself, the stream sniping legend himself. He actually had a really good question here, though, and one that I really do agree with. He says, can you please provide a way for PvP players to craft BIS 3 perk specified gear like the PvE players get to do from the raid? You could add a Gorgonite inductor to the PvP vendor that costs a lot of doubloons with a 1-week cooldown. This would allow PvP players to have a constant goal that would extend the life of the zone. If you're worried about this cutting your time gate in half for getting BIS gear, you can just put a 1-week cooldown on all the Gorgonite inductor recipes to keep your current time gate. I actually really agree with this, and hopefully they'll add something like this in, because right now, as it currently stands, you can only craft your 725 gear from the raid. There is currently no way to do that from just PvP. So I actually really like this idea. I agree with it for sure, because right now there's not a great way for PvP players to continue to go in there for this constant loop to craft your gear. What I think, or what I fear might happen, is that this zone might get a little stale, because what people are going to do, or what I think a lot of people are going to do that aren't really just into PvP, like maybe Tranquility and a lot of other people. I'm going to be spending a lot of time in there too, because I really enjoy PvP, and I think the free-for-all area is going to be fun, but not everyone's going to do that. I think a lot of people are going to go in there, they're going to get their gold cursed coconut that's on that 1-week cooldown, and then they're going to go get some cursed doubloons. And here's the other thing, you can get mystic doubloons outside of the PvP area. You can get mystic doubloons all over the Cutlass Keys area from looting chests. You don't have to be inside of that zone. You get cursed doubloons in there, you bring them back out, they turn into mystic doubloons. You can loot mystic doubloons just straight up outside of that area. So really, the most important thing to get out of there is going to be the gold cursed coconut. So people are going to go in there, they're going to get that, and then potentially not go back. So I worry that it might get a little stale in that area if you don't give people a reason to go in there and continue to try to get at least something to craft your gear, some kind of loop. So I agree with this. I hope they implement something like this to keep it nice and fresh and give people a reason to go in there all the time versus just once a week to get that coconut. But all in all, I think it's going to be a fantastic time. I'm looking forward to it. I think the free-for-all zone is going to add some spice to the game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I would love to know what you guys think about this zone in the comments below and some of these comments from the Q&A. Give me your opinion. Let me know what you think. Do you think nameplate should be on, should be off? Are you going to be going to the PvP zone? Do you like the free-for-all aspect? What do you think about this whole situation with this new PvP zone coming into the game? So we also have one more thing to discuss pretty quickly here, and that's just the servers and the time that these are releasing on October the 15th. So it says the global server launch info. New World Aeternum downtime will begin for all worlds at 8:30 p.m. PT, which is 3:30 a.m. UTC on October the 14th. And each region will open at the following time and will require a full game download. So all European and AP Southeast worlds across PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC will open at 12 a.m. PT, which is 7 a.m. UTC on October the 15th. So pre-order and deluxe edition bonuses will not be available until approximately 4 p.m. or 11 a.m. UTC on October 15th. So all other worlds, so US West, US East, and SA East, across PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC will open at 6 a.m. PT, which is 1 o'clock p.m. UTC on October the 15th. So console preloads start on October the 13th at 12 a.m. PT. That's for PlayStation 5 and Xbox, obviously. And then we have PC players will be able to download the New World Aeternum game update during the downtime on October the 14th. So there we go. Those are the times the servers are opening up on October the 15th. We are almost there. We're very close to the launch of New World Aeternum. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but that's it. That's what I want to bring you guys, a little bit of news, a little bit of update on the new zone, on the new PvP zone. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe for a lot more New World content. We're covering the game here up until launch and then well beyond, but that's going to do it for this one, boys and girls. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one.